Hello and welcome to the fourth, I think, episode of the Sovman podcast. And today I'm joined by my favorite guest of all, my wife, Whitney. Hello, Whitney.
Otherwise known as your co-host.
Also my co-host. Yeah, I guess we're actually, she's a co-host, not so much a guest. So we're going to be running this one together and we're going to make this regular. So we're going to be doing, basically we're going to take a bunch of questions that y'all have submitted on Instagram, and then we're going to give longer answers and kind of discuss them through from both my perspective and Whitney's perspective. And since it's not on Instagram, we don't have to try to cram our answers into 45 seconds, so we can get into the depths a little bit. So
yeah, exactly. We also have some questions from the hundreds of men that are in our group programs. We have compiled some of the more common questions that we get and that we answer. Obviously, in the program, we answer them much more in depth, and we give you ton of tools to deal with the issues you're facing, but we want to offer everyone who's tuning in some value as well today. So I will get started. Good?
yeah, and these are some of these answers have been submitted by you. Some of them we've kind of plucked out because we have about 1,000 men in our various communities who are all trying to save their marriage from impending divorce or from lack of intimacy, whatever the struggle might be. So some of them are some fun one-off questions and some of them are very common. So whatever you're here for, you're likely to get some value.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this was actually from a woman, but I do think it is super relatable for both men and women. She said, "My husband is super close to his female coworker. They text all the time, and it makes me uncomfortable. What are your thoughts? How do I deal with this? Is this okay?"
First thought would be that usually ends badly. I know some people with great friendships with the opposite sex, but generally speaking, especially if it's a new friendship, you're just introducing a whole host of problems into your marriage that don't necessarily have to be there. What would your thoughts be?
I mean, we have a rule. We don't have opposite sex friendships outside of the context of couple friends. Right?
Yeah, I haven't had like a one-on-one social outing with a woman in 10 years or more.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't want to, start going for lunch or dinner dates with some guy that wasn't you. I'd find that to be. I don't think you'd like that very much. I would find that inappropriate.
No, I am firmly opposed to it. It's my view is why open that door, right? If you never open the door, you're not going to walk through it. If you open the door often enough, it's a whole lot easier to walk through it. And it creates jealousy issues. It creates tension in the relationship. It creates suspicion. It can erode trust. So I think generally speaking, there's lots of exceptions, obviously, generally speaking, safer to just stay away from it.
And of course, it doesn't mean that just because you have if you're a woman and you have a male friendship, or you're a man, you have a female friendship. We know lots of people who have opposite sex friendships, and they are wonderful, and they're total buddies, and nothing has or will ever come of it. It's just, you, as Matt put it, you are potentially introducing conflict. It doesn't mean that an affair is going to happen, but it can introduce conflict into your relationship, right? It can introduce insecurities.
Yeah, and no matter how much you love your partner, none of us are above catching feelings in the right context.
Right.
So if you are going to do that, public places, lunch dates, I strongly recommend avoiding alcohol, because you'll love your wife the same when you're drunk, but you won't care about the consequences of what you do when you're drunk in the same way. We see inside of messy situations on a daily basis, and so many of them start out as totally kosher friendships that evolve into more over time, or even long-term friendships that have been nothing for 5 or 10 years, but then there's a tough time in the relationship. You start talking about your relationship problems with your opposite sex friend, and then all of a sudden that's a shoulder to lean on, somebody who understands you, somebody who empathizes with your point of view. And then, when you are at that moment of weakness, when you're feeling down, you're feeling hurt, this person's always been there. And then, especially if there's alcohol, boom, something happens. So, my rule is no. And I think that's the safest rule.
Yeah, and so how would the wife in this instance, what advice would you give her to deal with that situation? Because bringing that up to your spouse can be really tricky. It can feel like you're impeding on their freedom and on their, their friendships, and
Yeah, that'd be the same thing I recommend to everybody. It's like, bring it up, talk about it, and before you bring it up with your spouse, spend some time, even if it's with pen and paper, and write down, what am I really feeling? What do I really need to say? And think about it in these terms. If you don't say what you need to say, you're betraying yourself. So sometimes it's hard to say what you need to say because you don't want to come across as insecure. You don't want to come across as needy. You don't want to offend the other person, whatever. So you end up betraying yourself in order to protect this other person's feelings. So take out a pen and paper, talk to somebody you trust, and say, what are the things I need to say? What are the feelings that I need to bring up? What are the appropriate boundaries that we would need to put in place in order for me to feel comfortable about this? And then have that discussion. And if it's uncomfortable, if it's awkward, if it's terrible, if you guys end up getting in a fight, great. Just fight until you resolve it, right? Mm-hmm. Fight in a healthy way, turn into a discussion and a negotiation rather than a volatile emotional thing. But if there's some tension, that's fine. There's going to be lots of tension in your relationship. Work through that tension until you're both happy at the end. And maybe that takes you a month of discussions, but at least by the end of that month, you're in a place where both of you are happy with the outcome. And you'll be amazed at how far you can compromise and still be happy if you actually take the time to talk it through. So I'd say, yeah, bring it up, air it out. Darkness grows in the shadows. Don't keep it in the shadows. Shed some sunlight on it.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. My wife always complains about her workload at home, but I do so many things at home to ease the long list of chores to do, but it never seems to be enough.
Okay. So I love this one. The reason why it doesn't seem like enough is because there's something else missing in your relationship. You will not serve her by doing tasks to such a great degree that she all of a sudden becomes happy with you. And if there's something emotionally missing in the relationship and you complete 99 out of 100 tasks on her list, she is going to just focus on the one thing that's missing. Or if you complete 100 out of 100, she's going to point out the things that you didn't get exactly right or perfect. But if she's emotionally really safe and really fulfilled in the relationship, number one, you're probably not going to get 100 things on that task list. But even if, let's say, you get 5 things on the task list and you do 2 of them, you're going to get an immense amount of appreciation. So earning your way towards love never works. It's only going to cause a lot of resentment and a lot of toxicity that gets built up in the relationship. So what I would recommend is figuring out, why is she demanding that you earn her love through tasks, and why are you okay with that? Because there's some underlying dynamic in the relationship that's obviously not working for either one of you. And if you try to earn that through doing tasks, she's just going to look at you as a shitty employee. She's not going to look at you as a man that she respects and loves and wants to lead her, wants to rely on. And she's going to treat you like a shitty employee. And that's a very emasculating feeling. And so what's going to happen is, even if you complete everything on the list, neither of you are going to get what you want in the relationship.
So what you're saying is there's an underlying lack of either emotional safety, support, or underlying lack of feeling support or feeling seen. And she's taking those feelings and she's turning them into tasks. Like she's communicating those needs in the form of, I need more things to get done. But the reality is there's something beneath that surface.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, she's trying to fill some hole in the relationship by saying, well, maybe I would feel loved in the way I want to feel loved if he did all these things. Or I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed all the time. Maybe if he got all of these things done, then I would no longer feel overwhelmed and stressed all the time. But that's a very shallow understanding of the problem, and that's a Band-Aid. Like, there is some deeper disconnect, likely to do with the man not actually knowing how to be proactive, how to step up, how to lead. And so she's put in this position where she has to track everything that needs to be done. She has to make sure she's giving him a list. She has to make sure she's following up and he's getting it done and he's doing it properly. And so she's babysitting him. And she's never going to want to have sex with a man that she's babysitting.
Well, no one wants to have sex with their kid.
Correct.
Right? So if she views you as a child, then she's not going to want to be intimate with you, essentially. So for that man who's going through that, his best course of action is to say to her, hey, what is going on? Like, what's really going on here? Where are you feeling unsupported? Where am I not showing up? Instead of, what can I do?
Yeah, and I would say, even before you have that conversation with her, have that conversation with yourself. Like, one of the hardest things to do as a man is to be honest with yourself, because whatever amount of self-deception you've built up over your life, which we've all built up, it has been built up and designed specifically to deceive you. So uncovering the lies you tell yourself is very, very difficult. But if you take out a pen and paper, you talk to a buddy who's really blind, you say like, hey, where am I not showing up in my life, in my fitness, in my health, in my relationship, in my finances, in my career? Where am I falling short of who I could be? And likely if you ask yourself that, you're going to get an answer you really hate. And if you really hate the answer you get, and if it feels like a gut punch and it makes you want to throw up in your shoes, that probably means that there's some truth to it. And then what you got to do is you got to say, okay, I haven't been showing up in all these ways, and I've actually been relying on my wife to show up in all these ways. And then she tracks everything, she runs everything, she's in charge of everything, and then she gives me a list of things to do, and I'm bitter at her. It's like, okay, well, who's really wrong here? Is it her for giving you a list of things to do because she doesn't feel like she's getting help? Or is it you who hasn't actually been showing up as an adult and saying, I don't need to wait for her to give me a list, I can figure this stuff out on my own? And we went through this for 8 years anyway, 7, 8 years, where you were always giving me lists and it was never good enough. And I always thought that you were unappreciative and you would tell me to do the same things over and over and over again. But what was amazing, and I thought, like, there's no pleasing this woman.
Well, it was that, I would say, hey, can you be in charge of taking out the trash, for example? And then you would say, yes, I will take that on. But then you wouldn't do it. So there was a lack
I did
of
it to my standards, which was like, well, I'm going to wait until the trash thing is overflowing, and then I'm going to try to cram more garbage in. And then when I'm putting the garbage on top and it's literally falling out, then I will, take the garbage bag out, put it beside the garbage, put a new garbage bag in, and then, a few hours later, maybe I'll bring that trash can outside.
So don't you think maybe like that, okay, so should I have been more explicit about, hey, I'd like you to take the trash out when it is, before it overflows? Or do you think that's on the man to be like, I'm a responsible person, I'm going to wait for that?
It would have been helpful if you're more explicit, because I have very different standards of cleanliness than you do, very lower standards of cleanliness than you do, as you are very acutely aware. But no, it's on the man at the end of the day. It's like I was being a kid. I'd lived with like 10 male roommates in a big warehouse before. And like,
we were very young when we first got married. So, and I'm not, what you're saying is really good. It's really good information and knowledge for people listening. But just to give some grace, it's like when you are starting out in your relationship or in your marriage, especially if you're young, there is a learning curve of like how to keep a home and like all these things. So like people aren't going to be perfect at it. Right?
True, but this is the Sov Man podcast, which means it's always the man's fault.
Okay, I got you, man. I'm on your side. Some of the time.
I'm sure they appreciate that. But no, I mean that was squarely on me. Like I was immature and irresponsible, and I didn't understand, something as simple as when I say I'm going to take out the garbage, that means taking it out before it's overflowing, and it means taking the dirty, stinky bag of garbage all the way to the bin, not leaving it in the kitchen for a few hours or until the next day. Fair. When I started to actually get my shit together in that regard, and I was like, okay, when Whitney says she's overwhelmed, she needs help, the dishes have to be done, what that actually means is not only doing the dishes, but putting them away and cleaning the countertops and making sure the sink is empty and the tables are clear. And that sounds to a lot of guys like, okay, this is so much work. Why do I have to do this? It's demeaning, whatever your thoughts are. But what I found is that when I did that, you stopped asking me to do things at a crazy rate. Instead of asking me to do things 20 times a day, and I always felt taken advantage of, and you always felt like I wasn't helping you, you'd ask me to do things once every 3 days, because you saw that I was actually leading in that category and getting things done. And because of that, you didn't feel so alone and like you had to grasp for help everywhere you could possibly get.
I felt like I had a partner, so I didn't like the tasks, the work wasn't a problem for me. It was, and now, I mean, I do 98% of all of the 92% of all the things at home, and I don't even want your help. I don't want you to do any of the things at home. I love doing them. I'm really happy to do them, but it's because I have a partner in you to such a degree that I don't have those needs anymore to like, hey, can you I don't feel alone. It's like you show up in all the ways. So
it's that old adage, like, I don't want you to do the dishes, I want you to want to do the dishes, which makes no sense to men.
Right.
But it's true. And I've seen this with hundreds of my clients, and you've seen this with your clients as well. Like, it takes a few months of doing more work. And a lot of guys are in this position where they're like, I work all day, I come home, I work all night and give my wife a break, and then I put the kids to bed, and then I go to bed exhausted. Like, how can you ask me to do more work? It's like, well, hey, if you can sprint for the next few weeks or the next month or two and rebuild that trust that she can actually lean on you, your workload is going to go down dramatically. And the further your workload drops, the more appreciative she's going to be. It's crazy how it works. So put in that initial work to be like, hey, I am a man. I can handle my own shit. I don't need to be told what to do all the time. Watch me figure this out on my own like a big boy. And as that happens, well, maybe you should explain this because you actually have that experience, but you get to relax and not feel
It's just about
needs so
not
strongly.
feeling alone, like feeling like I have a partner in you, right? As soon as I feel that way, because everything that goes on with women is about how they feel and how they feel in the moment. Their feelings dictate their reality. And so, and that can be frustrating, and that's cool. Be frustrated, but like that, it is what it is. So, and you want to be married to a woman, this is how it's going to be.
Gay marriage is legal.
Gay
If you wanna
marriage
be
is
married to
legal,
a man,
absolutely,
totally
100%,
fine.
absolutely.
Do your thing.
But women, they are led by their emotions. So, so if we feel like you support us, if we feel like you want to show up, if we feel like you're gonna take care of the things you're gonna take care of, then we kind of just stop needing the things as often because we feel secure in our connection with you and in our we feel safe with you. Truly, I mean, everything really comes down to safety. You're gonna hear us talk a lot about safety over like in every single podcast we do, I imagine, because for women, feeling safe is everything. It is the core of our being. It is the core. It is the secret code to intimacy. It is the key to a happy relationship. It is the key to everything. And once you realize, understand how we interpret feeling safe and how to make us feel safe, which is really not that difficult. It just seems complicated because you're a man and you're not a woman. So there's a learning curve. But once you figure it out, it is so easy, and you reap the reward like thousandfold.
1,000 times. Yeah. And we can talk a lot about that. And I'm sure
And
we will.
will
but
absolutely in
staying
future
on-
podcasts and things. But today we'll stick to questions.
Staying on that, one thing I wanted to mention too is part of why you ask me to do so little around the house now. And again, this was like a nonstop fight for us for almost 10 years. Part of why you ask me so little now is if you ever do ask me, the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah.
Right. So if Whitney ever comes to me, she's like, hey, I'm fried right now. Could you like clean up the kitchen, do the dishes, put the, whatever. I'm like, yeah, the answer is always yes. And that's because I want to serve you. I want to take care of you. I want you to make you feel like you're protected, not only against bad guys breaking into the house, but against
My own internal
fatigue,
chaos.
your own internal chaos. Yeah.
Yeah,
The emotional storms that you're going through. And so when I noticed that you actually trusted me to say yes and to do a good job when you asked me things, you stopped asking me for things in a crazy way. So yeah, anyway, all that to say, put in that upfront effort, be a big boy, take the lead, be proactive. Don't wait for the list from her. Make your own list, get it done, and watch how you stop getting the lack of appreciation and the pestering and the nitpicking, and you start getting the appreciation, the intimacy, the wife that you actually want.
Sweet. Okay, so this one, it says, a dude put his hands on my wife at a bar, and I stood up for her. He swung at me and we fought, and he ended up knocking me out. Ever since my wife has been really cold, and we haven't had sex. It's been 7 months. I'm still proud of myself, even though I lost, but I'm worried I can't recover in my marriage.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
Very, very rough.
I would say, again, and this is going to be a common theme, there's probably some other underlying dynamic in the relationship that pre-existed that event.
And I'm also just going to interrupt here because I had this conversation with a male client literally yesterday. When a man lets his emotions take over, even if he's doing a masculine act, so fighting, right? Combat, these are masculine acts. If you are doing it in an uncontrolled manner, like you are emotional, you lose your cool, that is feminine. You are being feminine because you are losing control. You're allowing the chaos of your emotions to take over. Women are not, especially women who want to be in their feminine, are not attracted to men who lose their cool. Like, this is not attractive to watch a man lose his cool in a bar and like punch a guy. I'm imagining her husband was also drunk. Mm-hmm. So you're drunk and you're sloppy and you're fighting in a bar. These things are not attractive. Maybe if she's 20, but not to a grown woman. And it's because we recognize that this loss of control can translate in so many other ways in our life. It creates all kinds of levels of lack of safety for us. And I don't know why it's lasting 7 months. Like, that should have been a conversation. There are so many ways that they could have dealt with that. I imagine he doesn't have the tools to deal with that, to have that conversation. I don't know who this person is. But yeah, like getting into a fight, losing your cool, and being chaotic, it's a feminine thing to do. It's not attractive.
I think that's a brilliant response. Yeah. I would imagine it's not that he stood up for her heroically and lost, because that would not turn a woman off.
No,
it's
of course
likely
not.
that maybe the situation could have been de-escalated and he just was drunk and, made it worse than it was. And so, yeah, there's probably some underlying issues with emotional sovereignty, with confidence, with the ability to stay calm in the middle of a storm. And it was the fact that you lost your calm in the middle of a crisis, and handled it poorly. That was probably the thing that upset her more than actually losing the fight. And I suspect that's probably been a dynamic in the relationship for a really long time. And that was kind of just, the straw that broke the camel's back, where that entire dynamic was distilled into a single moment where she's like, why are you this way? So I would say do some emotional work on yourself, learn how to be calm. Maybe don't drink to the point where you handle situations poorly. Because I've been in some situations, I won't tell the story here, but I remember a woman was basically getting molested, and I was this is back when I was drinking, and I stopped it, and I did so very aggressively and very firmly, but I was totally out of control emotionally when I did it, and it was not I could have handled it so much better. So I'd say, yeah, do that work on yourself. Figure out where's that dynamic where you aren't good in a crisis, where you lack that emotional equanimity to actually stay calm. And then on top of that, as far as the actual physical altercation component, go do jujitsu. Like, spend 6 months getting your ass kicked at jujitsu, because after 6 months, somebody new is going to come in and you're going to kick their ass, and you're going to get
After 6 months in jiu-jitsu, he's going to be more confident than his skill set.
Yeah, for sure. But someone will join. I'm looking at our producer here who also does jujitsu. He's laughing,
Nodding his head.
But you'll get a little bit of swagger, and even if you don't know what to do, because after 6 months in anything, you'll
have some skill.
You'll have instincts to fall back on.
You'll know how terrible you are at fighting.
Yeah, you'll be
Maybe
more
you'll
likely to
de-escalate.
avoid it. But I think it's just having those instincts to fall back on. So instead of being like, oh, this is a scary situation, it's like you'll have been in a bunch of controlled fights, and you'll have instincts to fall back on, so you won't be as terrified. And you'll at least know, hey, if this does get physical, I know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm not that good at it. Maybe I'm really bad at it, but I at least know what I'm going to do. And that's a much more empowering feeling than just being like, I'm going to see red and start swinging.
The greatest gift I think that jiu-jitsu can give a person, especially in the beginning, is how to be calm under pressure. And so that is something that I think a lot of men, and women, that's a skill you can take away even in the early days of training. Matt and I have been training for years and years now. I'm 7, 8 years. You're what, 9 years jiu-jitsu?
Something like that.
Yeah. So, and even after all the years of training, the greatest gift I've gained from jiu-jitsu is learning how to be calm under the utmost pressure. Like, like a 200-pound person, and I'm like 130 pounds, a 200-pound person trying to suffocate me and breathing. So yeah, that's a great thing to learn, I would say.
Yeah, when you practice being in that state of panic and not letting the panic take over, but letting your instincts and your training take over, then when a real life situation happens, you get almost like unusually calm because you're used to it. And if your wife sees you getting really calm and being really in control in a chaotic situation, even if you get knocked out, she's going to want to jump your bones afterwards, because she saw that, that heroic masculine impulse in you. So again, probably an underlying emotional dynamic in the relationship inside of him that he needs to address, and probably a conversation he needs to have with his wife. And I would say start training, do some sparring martial art, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, judo, until you get comfortable in chaos and you have some instincts to fall back on, because your own insecurity about that event is going to stay with you until you feel like you can handle it better next time. So go get your ass kicked for 6 months until you know what you're doing.
Yeah, go get your ass kicked for 10 years.
Yeah.
A good point, though. Okay. Okay, let's see what else we have. We have so many questions here. Here, okay. This is more of a statement, but we get this all the time, and so I think it's really a really good one. We're more like roommates than lovers.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
More of a statement than a question, but we get it all the time.
You want to take that one?
We're more like roommates than lovers. Yeah. You can start, and then I'll jump
Yeah.
in.
So again, theme you're noticing here with the questions. There's some underlying emotional disconnect going on in the relationship, and that's a really useful thing for men to know about women in general. Is it's never about the thing. It's never about the specifics. It's never actually about the dishes. It's about the underlying emotional dynamic, not feeling safe, not feeling protected, not feeling connected in the relationship. So
Well, I'll jump in with that one. Safety is a really big part, a really big piece there. So something has happened in the relationship where she doesn't feel safe, and people often, especially men, they think safety means like safe from violence. No. Safety means it can mean so many different things. So, for example, if you are, being financially irresponsible or not following through with your word, or looking at women on Instagram. Having somewhat inappropriate, and again, this is subjective, but inappropriate relationships, like being overly close to female family members. And this is a whole other thing we can get into, but obviously there's nothing sexual going on between you and your family members, but women need to feel like they are the most important woman in your life. It doesn't mean you can't love other women, like your mom and your sister, your cousin, your aunt, whatever. Of course, you can love those people, but she needs to feel like at the end of the day, the tiger's coming and he's gonna eat somebody. He wants to eat people. You're gonna save her. Like, she's the one you're gonna protect.
And if you're always defending your mom rather than your wife when they get into a minor altercation
Right.
about where to put the shoes by the door,
Right.
she's going to assume on this biological instinctual level that you're going to protect your mom.
Primordial brain wave.
Yeah, you're going to protect your
going
mom
on.
over her.
Exactly, because we are animals at the end of the day, and we are still operating in a lot of ways as if we're hunter gatherers, and like our evolution has not been that long, and our biology hasn't changed much at all. So, still the same brains that we had. Well, maybe they've changed a little bit. We were not scientists, so I don't want to get into that.
Our brains have basically not changed in 250,000 years.
From what I understand, that's true. And so these are the types of things that tie into safety for women. So if she is feeling unsafe with you in any of those ways, and my goodness, the list is long. We should have an entire episode on how women.
Yeah, you
can't
said it
feel
was easy
unsafe.
before, and I would say it's simple but not easy. 'Cause
Sorry,
the list
I
is
meant
very long.
I meant simple.
Yeah.
Simple. Yeah, I use those words interchangeably sometimes, and I shouldn't because that's incorrect. But simple. So if she's feeling that way, she's not going to want to sleep with you. And the core of intimacy for women and wanting to like explore with you and be vulnerable and open up in all the ways comes down to her feeling safe with you. So as soon as you can nail those like safety pieces and ensure that she's that there's nothing in your relationship that's making her feel unsafe, that is how you turn into lovers again and not roommates.
Yeah, and a lot of guys think, and a lot of women watch content that says this. If you feel like roommates and the spark is gone, basically you need a new partner. And every marriage that has been around for more than a few years is going to experience some period where the physical attraction goes down. And we've had tons of clients where they have not had sex in years when they start working with us. And a few short months later, they're having the best sex that they've ever had. And just so the guys watching this understand, it's very common for your wife to say, we've never had good sex. I've had good sex with everybody I've ever been with except for you. You're the only person I haven't had connection with. And again, she's speaking from a place of how she's feeling in that moment. And the facts that are relevant to her get filtered through how she's feeling in that moment. And the only facts that can connect how she's feeling in that moment are, well, it's always been bad. It will always be bad. You're the only one. And then that leaves men feeling like they're, somehow really broken and dysfunctional or uniquely unattractive as men. It's how she's feeling in that moment. That could change in 2 months. I've got billionaire clients who are absolutely jacked, whose wives haven't slept with them in years. I've got UFC fighter clients with the same issue. I've got special operators, like the most manly men you can imagine, all having the same issue. It's not about actual attraction.
Like serious special forces dudes who are like tall, jacked, and make good money.
Yeah, we've got
and their wives,
a whole bunch of black belt clients and everything.
Nothing to do with that.
It's nothing to do with physical attraction. It's there's an underlying dynamic in the relationship. It's not that you're uniquely unattractive as a man. She was attracted to you at some point. You can get that back. And there's two ways men get safety wrong. One is they think it's only physical. And they're like, well, I'm a badass. I can protect her, but you don't know how to create emotional safety. Or on the flip side, you're kind of this overly nice guy, passive people pleaser, and you think that being super nice all the time is going to keep her safe. And you kind of covered the first point, but the second one, if you're super, super nice all the time and you're mega people pleaser, she's not getting that sense that you have the capacity for danger. And, speaking evolutionarily, how women handled the problem of danger in the world, whether it's other tribes or natural disasters or predators, is they got a dangerous man to come live with them. And they want that danger to never be, that capacity for violence never to be directed at them, but they want you to have that capacity for violence. And if all she ever sees when you have encounters with strangers, or when the barista gives you the wrong drink, or when there's some tension with your neighbor, is mega people pleaser, that might make her feel emotionally seen in the moment, but it's not going to make her feel like you're the kind of guy that can keep her safe. So the balance is you have to be a dangerous man who's capable of violence, while making it very clear that will never be directed to her in her way at all, which includes anger, punching a hole in the wall. It includes even having an annoyed tone of voice sometimes, because at the end of the day, the average man is going to have, call it 50 pounds on his wife. He's got bigger shoulders, denser bones.
He's a man.
He's a man, right? So he's bigger, stronger,
More capable of violence. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Nice work. And so essentially, when you're angry with her, she's now alone with a predator. And it's amazing. You ask the average man, like, when's the last time, and think about this as you're watching, when's the last time that you were afraid for your safety? The average man will answer, I don't know. And I've asked this to guys who have been in combat and cage fighters, and they all go, I'm not sure when the last time I felt unsafe. You ask a woman that, she's going to say, today, yesterday, maybe last week. Right? That time I was in Walmart a few days ago, and I went down an aisle and there was nobody in that aisle except for one other guy. And it's like, boom, afraid for physical safety. And so they're very, very highly sensitive to safety. And so you can be thinking you're just trying to resolve a fight and you're showing some passion. She's going to interpret that on a biological level as, I'm trapped alone with a dangerous predator who's out of control of his emotions. And that man who I love and respect and I'm attracted to because he has a capacity for violence, I don't sense that he's in control right now, which means that violence could be directed towards me. So even an annoyed tone of voice is going to make your wife shut down or withdraw or try to come over the top to make herself safe, but you're not going to get a safe wife. And if that dynamic is persistent for long enough, you're not going to have attraction in your relationship. So that's the number one breakdown, is safety. It can be from being too angry. It can be from being too soft and passive. It can be from, the list is endless, but it usually has a huge amount to do with safety.
And if this sounds exhaustive and or exhausting and oh my goodness, I'm never going to be able to accomplish this, it's like, yes, you will, because we've seen so many men make these changes, and once it clicks, once you get it, it's really hard to unget. We know so many couples now where the women feel so safe. I'm that woman. I feel extremely safe in my marriage and in my relationship all the time, and he's not. I mean, are you working really hard at making me feel safe all the time?
No, that's a great point, because when a lot of guys think this sounds so ridiculous, they're like, oh, that sounds like you're being such a simp and everything. It's like, when you first start to practice this, you see the results so quickly, and what you get back in terms of the wife that you want, which is probably some version of soft, feminine, respectful, appreciative.
Respect, appreciation, and intimacy.
All the things that guys want, yeah. And you see how quickly that emotional safety translates into you getting what you want. It becomes very, very easy to do. Mm-hmm. And the first couple of times, we have a concept called the lighthouse, which basically means when she's having a storm, your job is to not storm. Your job is to be the lighthouse. Lighthouse doesn't sway in the wind. It doesn't storm back. It just guides its shining light. The first time, guys are always kind of reluctant. They don't really know if they can do it. It sounds like so much. And then they come back and they're like, you wouldn't believe it. I was a lighthouse. The fight got resolved so quickly. It didn't escalate. It didn't turn into anything. And we had the best sex we've had in years a couple hours later. And then what happens, and this is so fun to watch, is the guys will come back and be like, yeah, every time we start getting in a fight now, I get a little bit excited because I know how to handle it, which means I know there's a good chance we're going to have really good sex afterwards. And it does work that way, right? And there's such Rip and Beth on Yellowstone, as much as like, you know, Beth is not exactly an attract. She's like a monstrous human, but
Most toxic
but the
couple.
and he's like a serial killer. But the dynamic that the two of them have in terms of their masculine and feminine energy is such a good kind of distillation of what it actually is like in real life. Like she gets super crazy, he gets super still and calm. And then that allows her to think, okay, maybe I'll actually calm down. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. He doesn't seem phased. Maybe it's not that bad. She calms down, boom, intimacy. And that is how it works in real life. Not always that quickly. That's obviously Hollywood, but it does actually work that way. So you very quickly find out the juice is worth a squeeze.
Right. Great. Correct. Okay. More questions. I did ask Instagram as well for some questions, so we'll probably have a few of those come in. I'll check those in a sec. Okay. I'll say what I have written here. Actually, infidelity trust. So it sounds like this is a man who had an affair many years ago, and the feelings, the lack of trust from the woman, like those feelings of lack of trust, like randomly resurface, and vice versa. So we have it down. Like, I think maybe it was a bunch of questions and we kind of compiled it into one, where it was like previous indiscretions and then them moving on from them. So apparently moving on from them, but the emotions resurfacing. So it's like, not actually, these people aren't actually moving forward.
Okay. So dealt with this a lot. We actually see a lot more female affairs than male affairs among our clients, which kind of makes sense. This guy's trying to save the relationship, right? But we see a lot of this as well. And the best thing that you can do to rebuild trust is kind of let her vent. The worst thing you can do for your wife is if she's feeling hurt, if she's feeling unsafe or not trusting you and she tries to share it and you shut her down and get defensive and get, pissy about it and go into your own kind of feminine emotional storm, that just means she's going to keep that inside and it's going to grow in the shadows. It's going to get bigger. The resentment's going to grow. The disconnect's going to grow. So let her get it out. Like, the best thing you can do when she's got something that she wants to share with you, even if it is ridiculous, even if it's offensive to you, even if it's counterfactual, it's like, let her get it out. You can correct her afterwards. Be a big boy. Like, a lot of guys can handle it when their 6-year-old throws a temper tantrum. Their 6-year-old daughter throws a temper tantrum. They can stay patient because they're not threatened by their 6-year-old. They can't stay patient with their grown wife, their grown woman who's their wife, because they're threatened by her. So just recognize it takes a lot of strength to stand in front of the female storm and not react. So see the hurt little girl inside of her. It's easier to be patient with the hurt little girl than the grown woman in front of you. And remind yourself, the more she gets this out of her system, the less it's carried around inside of our relationship for the next fucking 10 years. So let her get it out and be man enough to stand there. Let her, maybe say things in a messy way. You'll have lots of time to correct her when she's no longer feeling out of control emotionally, and be that lighthouse during her storm. It's a tall order. It can be really difficult, but she needs you to have emotional stability in that moment that she obviously doesn't have. And that's a gift that the masculine should offer the feminine, is more emotional stability than she has access to at times. And if you do this, then that bucket of resentment and distrust that she's carrying around with her, she'll begin to empty it over time. And you're not going to fill that bucket back up with intimacy and amazing connection until she's dumped out the resentment. So let her express it. And if she feels like you fully understand her hurt, almost by default, she's going to trust you. Now, there's a lot more you can do to build trust, which you were mentioning, like following through on your word and all these other things. But if she feels like, okay, I've fully expressed just how awful I feel, just how much he hurt me, and he received that and he saw my pain, in her world, she's going to go, well, how would he ever do it again now that he knows how much he hurt me? So her expressing it in a messy, contradictory, even counterfactual way is going to let her feel like, okay, he finally understands my pain. And to the male brain, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what she needs in order to heal. So are you willing to give her what she needs in order to heal or not? Because you can keep that tension, that negative tension in your relationship for the next 10 years, and she can carry around that distrust, and it can affect your life in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. Or you can give her the opportunity, put on your big boy pants, let her rant and rave a little bit, and just say, hey, I hear you. I'm sorry that I hurt you. Right? You can correct her later, like I said, because if she gets a chance to finally get that all out and she feels like you get it, it's going to go away pretty quickly. But if you don't let her get it out and she never gets to fully express it, it's going to stay a part of your relationship indefinitely.
For sure.
Agreed?
Yeah, I agree.
Anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think you kind of nailed it. Like, it's the hurt and the pain from any source of betrayal is usually, I mean, people disagree with this, but it's often not the act so much as what it represents. And what it represents is, a lack of trust and a lack of safety. And like, it's more like, how could you do this to me? Right? So if you love me and you care about me and you respect me, how could you do this to me? Right? And then of course our minds go to like the details and all that kind of stuff. And then it gets, that's very, very painful and kind of disgusting, or it disgusts you. But the real issue is like, is that lack of like, can I trust you to take care of me, to love me, to be true to me, right? And so when you do give her an opportunity to talk it out and you hear her and you apologize and you're like, I really, really get it. I really, really get where you're coming from. That can lead to
yeah, and then you don't have to have the fight 100 more times.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're going to have it more than once,
Yeah.
but you can have it 5 or 10 times, or you can have it 200 micro times. Like, just get them over with.
Yeah, and we've seen so many. I mean, I know you said you see women more, but I mean, I feel like it's pretty even across the board. And we had I had a female client whose husband didn't just have one affair. I mean, it was like multiple, and over the course of their entire relationship. And there were one-offs, and there was long, and then there was a long one, and they managed to work through it, and they are doing better than ever. Like, they are so connected and so happy. So you definitely can get
and maybe a note to add on that is we've seen so many couples recover from infidelity. And again, we got 1,000 men in our programs. Like, think of the most depraved and extreme versions of infidelity you can think of. Like, we've seen them. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what you can recover from if you're both willing to be really honest about, your role in the degradation of your marriage, about the hurt that you've experienced as a result of it. Like Nietzsche says, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And there is some truth to that. Like, these things can kill your relationship very, very easily. But if they don't, there's a depth of connection, a depth of openness, a depth of vulnerability that only comes from like, hey, you've now seen me at my absolute worst. I've now hurt you almost as much as I possibly can. And we've recovered from that. Like, there's a strength in those marriages, and they get to a place where they're like completely shocked. Like, I can't believe here we are 6 weeks, 6 months later after this, because I never thought we could even be in a functional relationship. Never mind, like, I'm so in love. She's so in love. I trust her so deeply. Yeah.
Okay, so this next one is, it says, I thought we shared the same values. Everything's always been really great, but lately we've been disagreeing politically, and it's been creating a massive wedge between us.
Oh, I love this one. So first thing is that if you don't share values with your partner, it's exceptionally difficult to create a healthy relationship. Because you're basically...
You can make all the mistakes and do all the things, but values is a tough one.
Values is a really tough one because you're basically, you're two horses hitched to the same cart trying to pull it in opposite directions. The cart's not going to move very effectively. So having different values is an enormous problem in relationships.
Which can often lead to... Values are typically tied to your political leanings.
Yeah. And so there's the bad news. The good news is... and this is not politically correct to say, but political correct and correct are not the same term, and they have different definitions for a reason. If you learn as a man how to create radical safety in your relationship for your wife, she will over time begin to adopt your values to a degree that will surprise you. We've had, one example we use all the time was we had a client with whose wife was a feminist professor, and a month or two into
gender studies, I think.
Yeah,
gender studies, yeah.
But like a very extreme feminist. and they've been married for I think 17 years or something. She'd never made him a meal. She actually thought that marriage was inherently patriarchal and damaging and demeaning to women. So they had very opposite values. And he was like a pretty right-wing guy. And
But they got married when they knew this.
I don't know. I don't actually know that part of the story. So
Okay.
I
I
don't
know that part
remember.
of the story either.
But I would imagine, these beliefs probably got more extreme over time.
Okay.
But when he learned to create emotional safety, she started making him food. She started bringing him lunches to work. He told this amazing story. She made him a meal for the first time, and then before he was done eating it, she brought him a second meal because she was worried he didn't like it, right? And she didn't change her ideology. She just was feeling so good. And again, women act from their feelings, that she wanted to then take care of him. And I've seen tons of clients where their wives' political beliefs begin to shift towards their husbands the safer that they feel with him. So again, that's not always going to happen. There's lots of women who have very, very strong beliefs that they're not going to shift necessarily, but you'll be amazed at how when you create radical emotional safety and she feels unbelievably safe and fulfilled and happy in that relationship, all of a sudden the political differences don't matter so much and she begins to move closer to you. And I know that's a controversial thing to say, but again, we've seen that like so many times over and over. And we have a trust ladder we talk about in our program. There's like 9, 10 rungs on it. And in order to heal your relationship, you kind of have to get to rung 3 or 4. And then in order to have like really amazing, incredible sex, you have to get to rung 6, 7. And then if you get all the way to the top rung is her beliefs will begin to shift to match yours. And again, sounds crazy. Not a lot of people get there, but it's absolutely true. We've seen it over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wrap it there?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
Well, I think we'll probably wrap the whole podcast there.
Okay, sweet. Great.
Anything to add?
No.
Awesome. Thank you for watching. If you like this and you want to learn more about our programs, you can check out the description underneath the video. If you want to talk to our teams, if you want to join our free program where we have a free mini course, and we've had many, many people save their marriage, have wives move back in, have wives tear up the divorce papers just from this short free mini course. We'd be really happy to hear from you. So check out the description below, click on those links, join our programs, talk to our team. And if we can help you save your marriage, it would be an absolute honor for us. And we hope that today was helpful.